Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wind Down Wednesdays. I'm your host, Paula Taylor, and this is episode 81. Before we jump into tonight's topic, I just want to make a brief announcement about dimensional frequency expansion. I am offering some classes to learn more about this amazing technique that I have channeled that I am still learning more about. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. But the next class, the intro to DFE with the Emerald activation, which is the first layer of DFE, the next class is coming up February 11th. I'm offering it as a hybrid class as of right now. That may change, but it'll be on Zoom for sure. And then I'm also having an in-person component, but that if that needs to go away, the Zoom platform will stay. So it's Friday, February 11th from 6 to 8. That's Arizona time. And I hope you will join us. It's only $44 for this 2-hour workshop. You receive the Emerald activation, and that's kind of the first activation that will kickstart you into feeling whether or not you're called to go further with these dimensional frequencies. So tonight we're going to talk about awakening. I am note-free. I am pre-recording, so I guess I have a little bit of a safety net. But if you've been listening to the show for a while, I was talking about how I was trying to free myself from feeling the need to write notes, and so I'm just going with this. Hopefully I did it last week. I'm actually recording this ahead of the episode that will air before this, which is going to be about integration. So let's talk a little bit about awakening. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about how I was deep in transformation, and instead of doing a topic, I did a card pull because I just didn't have words for what I was going through. And the card pull ended up being about integration. And so then I decided that the next show, I was ready to talk about integration. And as I started thinking about this, I've been talking about this process of spiritual rebirth. And the idea that, first of all, we go through this process over and over and over again in our spiritual journey. But even within kind of one episode, let's call it, of spiritual rebirth, one time period of spiritual rebirth, there's the labor, that contraction and expansion and contraction and expansion that goes on and on. Sometimes we have a false labor, right? Just like just like physical birth, where we're getting ready to birth something. Maybe we weren't quite ready, and we kind of go back and forth. And that's a difficult process. There's a lot of fears that come up that we have to kind of confront and let go of and move through. And then we give birth. And then sometimes after we give birth, there's this period of like, now what? And that's kind of what happened to me. I was like, well, now what? And that's where the integration comes in. This, whatever this birth is that we've gone through spiritually, energetically. In my case, I'm going to explain more about it tonight, but we've got to figure out how to integrate this knowledge, energy, whatever it is that we birthed. And so I don't know exactly what I talked about last week because I haven't filmed that show yet, but that was last week's show talking about integration. So let's talk about what comes after integration. So we've had our birth. We had maybe a postpartum period of like, ooh, I'm not sure what's happening here, or like joy, but kind of like I got to this point where I was like, is this it? Like, what's next? I don't know. Like, I felt very complete, but then I was kind of like, but where do I go from here? Because there's always somewhere to go from here. The journey doesn't stop. And so after integration, that period of time where you've kind of integrated this new energy, this birthing process where you've been able to kind of figure out what's going on and what's happening, and you've sort of let go of that, like, well, what happens next? And you're just embracing where you're at. Then comes awakening. And that's where I am now. So that's how I can kind of talk more about what I wasn't able to talk about a couple weeks ago. So let me tell you kind of what happened, and then we'll talk a little bit more about awakening, and then we're going to meditate on that concept of awakening. So I had this long-standing pattern in my life, and I called it a global pattern when I ended up getting some help with this, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But I had this pattern where I felt like I would move forward, and then I would sort of hit a wall. And I've said it on the show before, I feel like I hit a wall, and then I slide down the wall, and then I'm kind of in a heap. And I knew I needed help getting through this, and I talk about that really frequently on the show. We do this work on ourselves. We do self-healing. We do self-awareness, but everybody has blind spots. So there's parts of ourselves that we just can't see. I've talked about this iceberg, right? And above the surface is the things that we know about ourselves, that we see, that we show the world. And then underneath is this kind of murky area. And we shine lights in there, but we have blind spots about ourselves. That is why we heal in relationship as well as doing self-healing. I'm a proponent of doing both. So something was telling me that this whole rebirth, like that I was ready to move forward, but I kept hitting the wall. And I was like, I got to figure out what this wall is. I got to get it down or get through it or whatever it is. So I reached out to my friend, Kristen Quattlebaum, and I had an intuitive reading and energy session with her. And I'm not going to go too much into the details because they're not really important. But what turned out to happen, what turned out to be happening, was that I had an energetic blind spot. I had an area of my energetic body where I was losing energy. I was depleted. And I didn't know it was there because it felt like part of me, because it had been there for so long. You know, sometimes we have things that come from a past life or that started at birth or started so early in life, whether that's from a trauma or from something traumatic that happened to us in a prior life or from a karmic arrangement. Maybe we've sort of made a karmic contract that this is something we're going to resolve in this life or something that we're going to have to deal with. Whatever the reason is, a lot of times we have these energetic patterns that have been there for so long, we don't see that there's a way to change them, or we don't see that they might not be serving us. So she helped me identify this sort of energetic leak, we'll call it. And the most amazing thing about energy work, I say this a lot, is that you don't always need to know why something is there. Sometimes it's really important. Sometimes it's really helpful. And for the kind of mental, emotional resolution, it's sometimes important. But the most important step in healing, in spiritual work, whatever word you want to use, is awareness. If you're not aware that something's there, you can't address it. You can't change it. You can't embrace it, whatever the next step is. So she helped me bring awareness to this energetic leak. I keep doing this because it was like coming out of this part of my body. And we did a bunch of work around it and kind of figuring out what it was and where it came from. And again, none of that is really important. What's important is that as soon as I had awareness of this, as soon as I could feel it, and I recognized that it was something that I had the power to change, it felt like it was a part of me because it had been there for so long. But when I realized that it was there and that it wasn't serving me, then I immediately had the power to change it. And then I also had the support of this person I was in relationship with, holding this space for me, helping me do this healing work. And so I was able to call all that energy home. It's interesting, when I went back and looked at the Wind Down Wednesdays, I was doing Wind Down Wednesdays that were what I needed to do with this block or this leak that I had without realizing. I did the calling your energy home, and then I did a card pull, and it was I was definitely picking up intuitively on these issues, but I needed some help to really see them clearly, to recognize where this was happening in my system. So then we called all my energy home from this kind of leak that I had. We healed this wound that was sort of leaking. And then came that postpartum period where I was like, what the hell just happened to me? Like, first of all, how did I not know this was there? Which I let go of pretty quickly. I was easy on myself about that. It wasn't a judgmental thing. It was more like, oh my gosh, how did I not notice this? And when that leak was healed and I called all that energy back, I felt like a totally different person. And this is why I love this work. This is why I went into energy work rather than just doing psychology. And I say just, I don't mean that. That sounded like a little bit insulting. Like, it's very important to do mental work. But to me, the energetic component is what integrates everything, is what brings everything together. And you can change something in your energetic field that you maybe understand in the mental field, psychologically, or even maybe kind of feel emotionally. But until you address that energetic component, which is affecting your physical body, then you haven't fully resolved it. You haven't fully released it, whatever it is that you're trying to do. So what happened to me after this was, first of all, my mind got super quiet, like silent. And all of a sudden I was like all the worrying, all of the sort of mental, I want to use the word, I don't want to use that word, the mental gymnastics, the mental thoughts, the mental hamster wheel running. Okay, I'll go with that. All this running on a hamster wheel mentally that I had been doing for as long as I could remember, like, stopped. And so all of a sudden I was like alone with my thoughts, or with nothing. It was silent. And then the other thing that happened is that all of a sudden I called all this energy back in, and it was no longer leaking. And it was like, there was a huge physical shift of like an influx of energy. And so then when I looked back at that wall, because we identified this wall as kind of a step into another dimension, which made total sense to me given this dimensional frequency expansion work I've been doing. The wall is still there. There is a wall between dimensions. But rather than stopping at the wall now, I have the power, I have the energy to burst right through it like the Kool-Aid Man. If you grew up in the 80s and you remember that, or if you've watched Family Guy, they make fun of that a lot. I needed more power. I needed to call my energy home and seal this leak so that I could pass through this veil, through this wall, if you were, into the next dimension of my own journey, of my own healing, of my awakening. And so I had to sit with that for quite some time. That was kind of that integration. I had to just kind of sit with it. And again, to the point where I didn't have words to kind of express what was happening. But then once I started to integrate everything, I started to function in a different way a little bit in the world. I'm still me. Of course, I'm still me, but I have more energy. I have more power. I have more confidence. I have less mental chatter to distract me. What happened next was I realized there's a fifth layer of dimensional frequency expansion. We've talked a little bit about how there's 4 layers, and there might be more, and maybe they'll be revealed to me as I'm ready. But until I got through that wall, until I could like penetrate through that dimensional veil, that's the best word. It's not a wall because it's permeable, but you need to be in a certain space to pass through it. And I was ready. I just needed to kind of have this huge shift in my energy to get through it. And so the next thing I realized is that there's a 5th layer of dimensional frequency expansion. And it's very new to me. I'm still integrating that. So I'm not going to talk much about that. We'll get into it. I am going to mention, because I said I would talk a little bit about dimensional frequency expansion tonight. I want to just go in very briefly to what it is again. I've talked about it a little bit, and I'm giving classes on it, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show. You can go to my website. There's a DFE tab at paulataylorenergy.com. You can read about DFE. It's a lot easier to say DFE than dimensional frequency expansion. And then you can see when upcoming classes are. And the first class is an intro class where I talk about how this came to me, what it is, what it's for, and ultimately what it's for is this awakening. We are awakening as a species. Not all of us are there for sure, but there are so many of us right now who are searching and who are recognizing that there's something missing in our lives. There's something missing in the way that we've been living. There's something missing in how we feel, in the depletion of our energy, let's say. And to me, what dimensional frequency is these dimensions that I learned have actually been here before, that humanity has worked with, but by kind of on a smaller scale, and it's time for more of us to integrate these frequencies, to awaken to these frequencies, to call these frequencies into our personal energetic field, into the energetic field of the earth, of humanity as a whole, to move forward as a loving species. We are meant to be loving. We are meant to be stewards of the earth, of the creatures on the earth, of each other, and we're doing a terrible job of it. I mean, to be completely frank, we're just not doing very well. And it's because we've been in this ego mind for so long. We've lost touch with our connection to the earth itself. We've lost touch with our connection to the rest of the cosmos, to the energetic realms, to these other dimensions where we have support and help. And it's time to move through that. And that's what dimensional frequency expansion is. That's what it's here for. And not everybody is going to feel that awakening. Not everybody is going to be called into that. And that's not because there's something wrong with you, or it might be that you're not ready. It might be that this particular frequency doesn't call to you. That is why there are so many healing techniques and methods and expansive energies out there. And so I want to encourage you, if you feel called to dimensional frequency, check it out. Attend one of these easy 2-hour workshops, this intro class. It's $44. And I'm doing that on purpose because I want people to experience this. And you might experience it and just be like, oh, well, that was nice, but yeah, that's not for me. Or something might awaken in you when you have this first activation where you're like, I need more of this. And that's what happened to me. And that's what happened to the students that I've been working with. I'm actually now I'm into the onyx activation, which is the third layer. So I'm going to talk just really briefly about the layers because I want to get into the meditation. But this is all about awakening. Awakening with true awareness, living with intention, using all of this beautiful energy that's at our disposal that no one even taught us existed, that we've lost touch with. So the first layer of dimensional frequency expansion is the emerald layer. This is a heart opening. And this is the layer that kind of first calls you if you feel called into the DFE experience. And what people find after this is that their heart opens, they feel more loving. Love is what actually protects us energetically. So it actually increases your protection. It increases your power. And again, not everybody's going to have the same experience of this. Not everyone is going to have the powerful shift that some of us have had. And that's okay. That's as it's meant to be. So the best way to decide if it's for you is to check out that emerald activation. And the beautiful thing about the activations is that they're not meant to be permanent. If you want to permanently kind of explore and hold and live in these frequencies, then you move on to an expansion ceremony, and that's kind of a one-on-one thing. But the activations can be done in a group. They can be done virtually. That's why I'm offering them that way. And again, it's like a taste. It's like, when you go to the ice cream store and they're like, here, have a taste. And then you might be like, oh, that one's not for me. Or you might be like, that's the best thing I've ever had. Or you might be like, ooh, I'm curious. Look, can I have one more taste? Or can I want to mix this with something or whatever. So I'm not going to go into the other layers. The second layer is the amethyst layer. That is a mental layer. That it brings in a huge amount of mental energy, and it helps connect us to this intuitive information that's available to us that a lot of us have kind of lost touch with. The onyx layer is the third layer. That's a grounding layer that kind of grounds all of that mental energy back into the body. It really connects us to the earth. This is the layer from which we can start healing the earth with this onyx frequency. And then the fourth layer is the selenite layer. And that's the integrative layer. That's the layer that kind of brings those first three frequencies together. It expands, it connects us more fully with this multi-dimensional experience. So we're not just living in the physical plane anymore. We're expanded beyond into some of the spiritual realms that exist beyond the physical plane. And then, of course, there's a fifth layer, which is a high heart awakening. And It's a super powerful awakening, and it doesn't have a name yet. There's a couple things that are coming to me. I need to get into that more. But that's one of the beautiful things about this work, is that it never ends. And hopefully there won't be infinite layers of DFE. I would like to keep it simple. And it's funny, when I first started working with a client about this, she's like, well, what about the blue layer that comes after selenite? And I was like, well, let's just keep it at 4. And now I see a little bit of that was a defense, because I was hitting that wall instead of being able to go through it. I could see that it was there, and I thought, well, the selenite is white and it kind of encompasses everything, and it's an integrative layer. But what I see now is that the 5th layer is the awakening. The first 4 layers are kind of the integration, the coming home, the calling that energy in, and the awakening starts with the 5th layer. And it's all about awakening. I mean, awakening the heart, awakening the eternal mind rather than the ego mind, awakening our connection to our body that so many of us have lost, awakening our integration to all of this beautiful energy on all of these different planes that are available, even while we're in physical bodies on this physical plane. And then awakening the high heart, which is, some people call the Christ consciousness, which is that ability to love unconditionally, truly unconditionally, and from that comes healing. So we're going to do a meditation about awakening tonight, and I have a little bit of a view of how that maybe is going to go, but I'm not exactly sure, and that's one of the things I love about this. So let's meditate together. So take a nice deep oxytocin breath, breathing in through the nose, letting the belly float out, using that audible ha sound, going from a high pitch to a low pitch, shifting out of that sympathetic fight, flight, or freeze mode and into the parasympathetic, into that ease and relaxation mode, letting yourself come into the body here. Take at least 3 oxytocin breaths. You can take more if you'd like. Just coming fully settled into the body. You can sit up or lie down for this meditation, whatever feels more comfortable to you. Allow the top of the head, that crown chakra, to gently open and invite in that beautiful universal life force energy, that divine light, that unconditional love that we are made of. Let that flow in through your head, into the brain and the face, into your jaw. Let it come into your throat and your neck and your shoulders. Let it flow down into your upper arms, into the elbows and forearms, your wrists and hands. Let this beautiful light and love flow into your chest and upper back. Let it come to your mid back, into your abdomen. Let it come to your low belly and your low back. Down into the hips and the pelvis, into your thighs. Let this beautiful energy flow down each thigh into your knees. Take a nice deep oxytocin breath, drawing that breath all the way down into your knees, and then sighing it out, releasing any tension, any stress you've been holding in the knees, letting that energy flow down into the lower legs, into the ankles and feet, all the way down into the earth. Feeling fully rooted and connected here. And the next step of this, I'm going to give you an option. We're going to go to our energetic sanctuary. And if you've never been there, don't worry, I'll describe it. But there are 2 options of how to get there tonight. And you use your intuition to determine which one is right for you. You can bring your sanctuary to you, to the room that you're in, as you stay fully present in your physical body. Or you can choose to travel out to the sanctuary, out into the spiritual realm, to where your sanctuary is. And your intuition will tell you which is the option that will serve you the most. And if you're unsure, just pick one. It doesn't really matter. So if you are choosing to draw your energetic sanctuary to you, bring it to you. If you're choosing to travel out, just set the intention to go out into your sanctuary. If you've never been to your sanctuary before, just imagine that you are bringing to you or traveling to the most beautiful, safest space you can imagine. This is an entire planet that is yours and yours alone. Nothing gets in here without your permission. No one can visit without your permission. There is nothing in this space that can harm you. It is completely safe. So as you come into your sanctuary, just come into it wherever you normally do. There's probably a place here that you've become familiar with if you've done this work before. And what we're doing tonight is that in this safest of spaces, in your sanctuary, we are going to invite our awakened spirit to come out and play. So set the intention to invite your awakened spirit to come to you. And this can come in any form. You may see yourself just as you are now. You may see yourself as another type of person. You may connect to a past life version of yourself, or just something will come to you that makes you look different than you do now. You may come to yourself as an animal. You may come as just a being of light. This is completely intuitive. So whatever comes to you, just let it come. This is the awakened part of your spirit, this beautiful, free, untamed, playful part of your soul, part of your spirit. And where better to awaken this than in your sanctuary where everything is safe? So once you see your awakened spirit, and I'm using the term see here loosely. You're seeing in your imagination, or maybe you just feel it. Maybe you hear something. There's no rules to this, but connect with that spirit, that awakened spirit. Invite yourself to see it almost as though it's separate from yourself, but then remember that this is you. This is a part of you. So recognize your awakened spirit. Maybe take a few minutes and study it, look at it, but then come into that spirit, because that spirit is you. See through the eyes of your awakened spirit, whether it's humanoid, whether it's an animal or a plant or something completely different that you've never seen before, just lights or colors, whatever you see here, come into this awakened spirit. This is your untamed, wild, playful, awakened self. And once you're fully in this spirit, first of all, look around and notice, do things look different through the eyes or from this energy? How does your sanctuary appear to you from here? How does it feel? Does it feel different? Does it feel more alive? Are your senses more alive here? Are you smelling and seeing and hearing and tasting more? Are you feeling that you're one with this energy of this space? Whatever's happening here, let it awaken. Let yourself fully be in this space. And then as you're ready, I want you to play. I want you to move in whatever way calls you. Maybe you're just running flat out. Maybe you're flying, you're soaring through the air. Maybe you're dancing. Maybe you're creating. Maybe there's colors coming out of a part of your body and you're painting them in the sky. This is an active practice here. So whatever comes to you, let it come. You're running with the wind in your face and you can feel this aliveness inside yourself. You're flying and soaring and viewing your planet from above, and it's so beautiful and it's so safe that you can completely let go. That is the purpose here. Let go of the constraints that you have when you're in your physical body and awaken. Awaken your senses. Awaken that playful curiosity. Awaken that feeling of being wild and free. And run or soar, move yourself in whatever way calls to you here. Dance, twirl, whatever is coming. Dive into some water and swim as though you were a fish or a dolphin. Soar through the air like you were a bird. Whatever is coming to you here. Let yourself really get into this space. Let yourself really feel the awakening here. Feel the letting go of the rules. There are no rules in this space. No rules. Everything is safe. Everything is on the table. Let your heart burst open here, completely safe in this space. And feel your wildness. Feel the awakening of your spirit. Feel the awakening of your senses here. Let yourself be free. Let yourself run. Let yourself fly. Let yourself glide. Let yourself dance and twirl. Let yourself make sound or music. Let yourself see colors. Maybe there are colors you've never seen before that don't exist on this planet, in this plane. In your planet, you create whatever comes to you. So be free with that. Maybe it looks completely different. Maybe there are plants and animals that you've never seen before. Maybe there are rock formations. Maybe this is a completely different color scheme. Maybe it's all water. Maybe it's all rock. Maybe it's all green. Maybe whatever it is, let it be. Let it come to you. Let yourself awaken to your own power in this sanctuary. Let yourself awaken to your own freedom in this sanctuary. Let yourself move. Let yourself soar. Let yourself expand and be free. Hey, hey, oh, whoa, whoa. Hey, hey, ooh, Hey, oh, whoa, yeah, 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 yeah. Ooh, 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 ooh. Be free. Be awakened. Be your wild and beautiful self for the last few moments here. Anything you've ever wanted to do that you couldn't do in this physical plane, let it happen now in your sanctuary. Unleash what has been holding you back in the world, in your physical body. Unleash it in your sanctuary now. And know this is real. Know this is a real place. Know this is a real awakening of your spirit that you will bring back to your body. And then very slowly begin to come to stillness. Staying in your awakened spirit, just come to stillness now. Let your movement and still feeling awake and alive and empowered, but doing it in a state of stillness. And then integrate that awakened spirit back into your physical body. Your body within the sanctuary, your body within this plane. Calling your awakened spirit home to your physical body now, where it belongs. Allowing that awakening to live within the physical, not just the spiritual. Letting yourself be awakened in the physical plane now. Calling that spirit home. And now releasing your sanctuary or coming back into the body from your sanctuary, bringing that awakened spirit with you. Affirm with me out loud, I am fully present in my body. I am fully present in my body and my awakened spirit resides within me. I am fully present in my body and I am awake. I am free. I am alive. If you'd like, you can gently allow that crown chakra to close or leave it open for the highest good. And let yourself come back down through the head and the jaw, the neck and throat, into the shoulders, into the arms, into the torso, and the belly, the hips and pelvis, into the legs, thighs and knees, lower legs, ankles and feet. Connecting again with the earth, feeling the aliveness and the awakened energy of the earth, always available to us, but sometimes we forget how alive and awake the earth is itself. Let yourself connect to that energy now. Bring that beautiful awakened spirit into your heart space and carry it with you moving forward. Allow it to give you courage to make decisions differently in this plane, to act freely, to be awakened, to let go of that which has been holding you back. As you're ready, you can begin to wiggle your fingers, move your wrists and hands, maybe move your head and neck around, just coming fully present into the body, back into this room, feeling alive and awake, feeling courageous and powerful, feeling free. Sat Nam. The truth of your identity is that you are powerful beyond measure. You are capable of being wild and free and awake, and you deserve that. Let yourself feel that now. And as you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Have an awakened rest of your evening. Have a wild and free rest of your week. And I will see you next week for Wind Down Wednesday.